My name is Andrzejewski. I'm the CEO and founder of OpenTheBooks.com. At OpenTheBooks.com, our auditors have built a massive database. To build that database, last year we filed 41,500 Freedom of Information Act requests. The natural question is, after you compile so much information, so much transparency, what comes next? And that's the purpose of today's presentation. I'm going to spend 15 minutes to describe the impacts of our work. Let's just start at the top with the Office of President. Over the course of the last 18 months, 6 times in the Wall Street Journal and at USA Today, we wrote open letters to President Trump encouraging him to embrace the transparency revolution and, as commander-in-chief, to declare war on government waste. And I met with, over the course of the last 18 months, after speeches in Washington, D.C., then head of the Office of Management and Budget, Mick Mulvaney, who told us, keep up the pressure. And I saw Vice President Mike Pence after a speech in New Orleans, and he said, keep up the good work, keep those ads coming. And you don't know what your impacts are going to be, but what we found was, in the President's budget to Congress for fiscal year 2021, we had a big impact. I got a call from the White House, and they told me that we inspired, for the first time in history, a new chapter in the President's budget to Congress. And that was a chapter on eliminating wasteful spending. And that this chapter was inspired out of our Where's the Pork report. In that report, our auditors took the federal grant-making file of $600 billion. And you know some of the findings. $1 million went from NASA to prepare the nation's religions for the discovery of extraterrestrial life. $1 million went to the Ivy League college, Cornell, on a study where it hurts the most to be stung by a bee. Health and Human Services put $1.4 million into sex education for California prostitutes who could probably teach the class. We found that the Pentagon spent $1,200 on expensive coffee cups for their pilots, and that led to U.S. Senator from Iowa, Chuck Grassley, writing an oversight letter to the Pentagon, and he got that program stopped. So that was the inspiration, they told me, for the first ever chapter in the President's budget on eliminating wasteful spending. Now, in that chapter, our oversight reports were cited. For instance, on use it or lose it spending. That's the oversight report that we did that quantified the $100 billion spent in the last month of the fiscal year, when the federal agents literally spend down their budgets this year to get the same or more money from Congress next year. We found that, agencies purchased $10,000 club leather chairs. $1 million was spent on an advertising contract with the Professional Bull Riders Association. And $4.6 million was spent by the Pentagon in the last month of the fiscal year on lobster tail and snow crab. And the President wants to stop that practice. A half page in that chapter on eliminating wasteful government spending cited our organization by name, bullet pointed our findings, and hyperlinked right to our website to where the report exists. Another oversight report was cited in the President's budget, this time to eliminate an entire federal agency, the agency that deals with art and humanities funding, the National Foundation for the Arts and Humanities. Our oversight report found that 80 cents on every dollar funded a well-heeled, wealthy arts organization with over $1 million worth of net assets. It wasn't on what we were all told. The arts funding was necessary to fund the starving artist, the man or woman that had great talent but couldn't get privately funded. That's not how the funds were being spent. The President recognized this, used our report as the reason to eliminate the entire agency. Our Use It or Lose It report has led to legislation. U.S. Senator Joni Ernst in the Senate, companion bill in the House, Derek Crenshaw out of Texas. They wrote the legislation to stop Use It or Lose It. And I'm proud to say that 2 weeks ago, when negotiating the Armed Services Appropriation in the House, the appropriation chairman, the Democrat Adam Smith out of California, he said that he would co-sponsor the stopping the Use It or Lose It spending out of the Pentagon as an amendment to the Defense National Authorization Act, the appropriation for our military. So we're having a big impact in that regard. Also in the president's budget to Congress, we weren't cited for this, but we have been out in front on this issue, and that's the issue of improper payments. Since 2004, the 20 largest federal agencies admit to spending $1.4 trillion improperly. That's money that went in the wrong amount or to the wrong recipient or not under the proper federal law or regulation. A stunning amount of money. Last year was $140 billion that went out of the Treasury on an improper basis, including $1 billion to dead people, paid out improperly to people that had a federal death certificate on file. This has led to legislation in the Senate, a bipartisan bill between Kennedy and Capper, Senators Kennedy and Capper in the Senate. I guess you need legislation to stop federal payments to dead people. So these are some of the impacts that we've had in the president's budget to Congress. We're very proud of that. I want to get into quickly some of the other oversight reports that have had a massive federal impact. Last summer, we came out with a report on the 82 largest charitable hospitals, and we showed that they were getting richer while the American people were getting healthcare poorer. The hospitals and their CEOs were making a lot of money in the nonprofit area. In fact, hospital CEOs made up to $59.1 million over the course of a 4-year period. In the last fiscal year available, largest charitable hospital groups in this country had a 24% return on investment, a net asset increase in their assets. So we showed that they were, these nonprofits were making big profits. We launched this report at Tucker Carlson at Fox News, and I'm proud to say that we worked with a Pulitzer Prize-winning healthcare journalist at USA Today to publish an 1,800-word co-investigation right here in May on the wealthy hospitals that had continued to increase assets and pay to their CEOs, while they also pulled massive tens of millions of dollars worth of coronavirus bailout money. This has also led to the Democratic governor in Colorado, Jared Poulos, in his February State of the State address in Colorado, saying that Colorado nonprofit charitable hospitals need to start doing a more effective and more cost-efficient job for the patients in Colorado, because a couple of those large hospital groups are based in Colorado. We're proud of that impact. Here's another oversight report. Congressional membership has its privileges. We launched this at the start of June on 200 ABC, NBC, and CBS news affiliates across the country with the Sinclair Broadcast Group. The findings have gone up at Forbes twice in very popular pieces. We found that Congress is double-dipping retirement plans. They have a public sector public pension plan, and they have a taxpayer-funded 5% match on their 401k style plan. We took a look at what Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell are going to reap out of those plans. And just on the 5% taxpayer match, Pelosi's been there for 34 years. And if she retired at the end of November, she could collect an estimated $1 million in lump sum just from the 5% match, in addition to her public pension plan and the nearly $6 billion that she's made on salary over the course of her time in the U.S. House. One of the most impactful reports that we've ever done is called Mapping the Swamp, a study of the administrative state. We found, in terms of transparency impact, that the federal bureaucracy costs $1 million a minute. It's $500 million a day in 78 of the largest federal agencies. The average pay is now 6 figures. The average bureaucrat makes over $100,000 a year. The media impact, we launched this report on the Laura Ingraham Show on Fox News. Mark Tapscott at Investors Business Daily wrote that this is quite possibly the most impactful oversight report ever done on federal agencies. And Fox News said that we're the watchdog group that President Trump should work with to drain the swamp. This also led to the broadside book that we authored here at Open the Books called Operation Drain the Swamp. And that book led to a Hillsdale national leadership speech in Naples, Florida this past February that when posted online got 835,000 views. The legislative impact, it's led to federal legislation, 2 bills. The first bill from Mark Sanford out of South Carolina would have brought transparency to federal bonuses. Right now, they're opaque and the bonuses are not made transparent to taxpayers, to the people. And the second piece was a bill put together by then Congressman Ron DeSantis, who's now the governor of Florida. The DeSantis bill would open federal pensions to sunshine. It drives many people crazy that are elected public servants, members of Congress. Taxpayers help fund their pension, guarantee their pensions on a lifetime basis, yet we don't get to see their pensions. Under current federal law, those pensions are not subject to the Freedom of Information Act. So we're just guessing at what they receive. Both these bills were, in the last Congress, put together by Jody Hice into one bill, and they sit currently in the U.S. Democratic-controlled House of Representatives. Just 2 weeks ago, this report was again resurrected in the national news cycle on the debate as to whether we should have a June 13th created federal holiday. And U.S. Senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, correctly said that if we create that holiday, it'll cost taxpayers $600 million. That statistic came out of our report. We recited in the national news media on that. And Johnson also picked up our messaging that currently federal bureaucrats get 43 days on average of paid time off. That's basically a 4-day week every week of the year, and they probably don't need another federal holiday. Here's another oversight report with great impact. Ivy League Inc. We studied the 8 schools of the Ivy League over a 6-year period and found that they received a $42 billion federal, state, and local subsidy, special tax breaks, and federal direct payments on contracts and grants. We launched the preliminary findings with James Pearson at the Wall Street Journal in an editorial. Fox had the TV exclusive. They ran it 7 times, including on Brett Baer's special report. The legislative impact, we were cited by the Boston Globe when the Republican-controlled Congress and Trump signed the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, and they slapped a new tax on excessive endowments. You see, the Ivy League had amassed the $42 billion at taxpayer cost, despite having a $120 billion endowment. And so the new tax goes on excessive endowments like those of the Ivy League to at least claw back a little bit of those endowments for taxpayers. Here's another impactful oversight report that we've done at openthebooks.com. It's on the militarization of the rank and file federal agencies. Outside of the defense agencies, our auditors found that in an 8-year period, 63 federal agencies purchased $1.5 billion worth of guns, ammunition, and military-style equipment, and 53 of those agencies were rank-and-file federal agencies like the EPA, the IRS, and Health and Human Services. We launched this report on Fox News in 7 segments. Also, Dr. Tom Coburn and I, the print exclusive, went to the Wall Street Journal with a editorial that was placed in a premium placement at the Journal. Here's the impact. Immediately, we were called to brief to Washington, D.C. to brief House Oversight and Government Reform. 2 weeks later, they had a hearing on the subject. Then they issued subpoenas to the federal agencies to try to understand how many weapons they've lost. And eventually, they determined that they've lost 1,200 weapons out of the federal gun locker, including a grenade launcher and an Uzi. President Donald Trump adopted our findings in his reorganization of the federal government, and that document was entitled Delivering Government Solutions for the 21st Century. The piece that he adopted was to take arrest and firearm authority away from non-law enforcement and non-military agencies. Sounds common sense. These are agencies like the EPA, and return that authority to the proper agency, which is the U.S. Marshal Service. Here's another report that we had big impact on. The VA scandal in 2017, it was on art. We found on Transparency Impact that $20 million was spent by Veterans Affairs on high-end luxury artwork over a 10-year period. It was 27-foot Christmas trees costing $21,000. It was sculptures priced like 5-bedroom homes. In fact, at a VA center that serves blind veterans, we found they spent $700,000 on 2 fancy sculptures. Our findings went to Good Morning America, ABC World News Tonight. They were picked up by then Judiciary Chairman of the Senate, Chuck Grassley. He wrote an oversight letter to VA Secretary Robert McDonald, and 34 days later, McDonald had stopped the practice. He also apologized for the purchases. Here's another oversight report, also on Veterans Affairs. It's from 2014, right when we were starting on a national basis with big impact. We were the only organization in the country that had proactively captured the federal executive agency payroll. So when the VA scandal, you remember the scandal, it was a massive scandal. Up to 1,000 veterans died while waiting to see a doctor. But the official book shows there were no wait times. And the VA bureaucrats had collected millions of dollars worth of ill-gotten bonuses by showing no wait times as veterans were waiting for a doctor. And we had all the the bonuses, we had the payroll figures, and we became the de facto data supplier for the USA Today and for the 200 ABC, NBC, and CBS stations across the country on the nightly news with Sinclair. And we followed that scandal. And the USA Today correctly cited us in our database, Oversight, and co-investigations with them when the US House voted 426 to nothing to eliminate the VA's ability to confer a bonus. The Senate never took up that legislation. However, we did get a 1-year moratorium, no bonuses at the VA from then acting director, VA Director Sloan. Very quickly, I want to go through our immediate impact of oversight. You see, at Forbes, we've put up 135 pieces for about 9 million views. So just last week, when we put up the piece, Why Seattle is in Trouble, a Democratic mayor in one of the 10 largest cities in America reached out to me. And he said, I know I need to cut my budget in these economic times, and I'm not getting help from my city councilor, city manager. Can you forensic audit our budget and post your findings online? And I said, yes, we can. And also last week, you may have seen the news headlines, the Brookings Institution. They're kind of the heritage of the center left. And Brookings, they were outed on helping craft the Steele dossier and disseminate it. And in 2016 at Forbes, we put up a piece that during the Obama years, the Brookings Institution, this progressive think tank, had taken $20 million from 50 federal agencies on contracts and grants. So the news stories now close the loop on the Brookings allegation of pay to play. 2 weeks ago, our interactive map of the mega loans between $1 million and $10 million of the Paycheck Protection Program, the coronavirus bailout program for quote unquote small businesses across the country. We mapped the 83,000 mega loans in 13,000 zip codes, and this made the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal. I gave a presentation on these wealthy and rich hospitals 2 weeks ago at a center-left virtual conference in Austin, Texas. This spring, our coronavirus bailout, since March at Forbes, has received 3.2 million views. Right from the beginning of the coronavirus breakout, the Tucker Carlson show used our data on Centers for Disease Control, showing that the budget wasn't cut, head counts and payroll were at all-time highs, and he correctly cited us on those statistics to his roughly 4 million national viewers. We also, within 24 hours of the CARES Act, that was a $2.3 trillion coronavirus bailout bill for nearly everybody in the country. We were up at Forbes with Oversight. It was showcased at Drudge, and we got 520,000 views on that piece. We have followed the bailout monies. So when AOC and New York Congressman Jerry Nadler, they want a $4 billion bailout for America's museums. We posted that at Forbes with about 100,000 views. We covered the bailout of higher education and found a $350 billion club. The 25 wealthiest universities in the country have $350 billion in their endowments, but they were allocated nearly $1 billion of coronavirus bailout, and they can't make the argument they need the money. We have followed the potential state bailouts in Illinois, California, Washington, D.C., and now Texas. With the gross largesse of six-figure public employees in these states, and making the argument, don't throw good money from around the country at badly mismanaged fiscal states. Our Illinois oversight piece has nearly 900,000 views. We identified executives profiting off of poverty at America's food banks, up to $1 million in annual compensation, and we think that's a moral outrage. This spring, when President Trump, we were tipped that he was going to remove the United States from the World Health Organization, and within an hour of that press conference, we had how much taxpayer money was at stake. We quantified $3.5 billion sent from the US taxpayer to the World Health Organization over the course of the last 10 years, and nobody had the context on that number, and that piece did about 60,000 views at Forbes. I want to also bring you back to last summer when we did two very impactful Forbes investigations. One was in San Francisco, where we mapped the human waste in the public way, and that has changed the national narrative on big cities and homeless populations. That was seen by the New York Times, and we did a co-investigation on the New York City war on rats, the $30 million Mayor Bill de Blasio campaign to end rats in New York City. That was an abject failure. So when Bill de Blasio declared for president last summer, the same day in the New York Times, the headline read, the rats are taking over New York City. And I'm proud of that co-investigation with the New York Times. Here's some historic oversight of our impact that's still paying dividends till today. Right from the beginning, when we went live with pay and pensions in Illinois, we found a school district treasurer enriching himself. He was eventually indicted by the Cook County treasurer, by the Cook County state's attorney, and he served an 8-year sentence in prison. At the College at DuPage, we were able to unearth a radio station engineer trading with himself. He was eventually sentenced to 9 years in the penitentiary, restitution of $400,000, and he lost his public pension when he tried to retire. I want to take you to Oregon in 2016. Brad Avakian. You know Brad Avakian. He was the state regulator that regulated the baker into bankruptcy in Oregon. Well, we investigated Brad Avakian's campaign, and we found that he was using state resources on his campaign. And we put up the investigative piece at Forbes. When the local Oregon newspaper reached out to the campaign, they admitted it. They said, yes, we use state employees on state time on the campaign, but they make up the time later. And even in Oregon, that's still illegal. And Brad Avakian is the first Democrat to lose statewide since 2002. My last example could be the most impactful out of all of these, and it's very Illinois-centric. Back in 2017, we put up an investigative piece on the new Illinois Auditor General, Frank Montino. Who is Frank Montino? He was an Illinois House member, the right-hand man to the legendary House Speaker Mike Madigan. Mike Madigan is the longest serving House Speaker in any state in the history of the country. Ironclad control in the state. We were tipped by a state rep that there was discrepancies in Frank Montino's prior campaign fund. And so we kicked that project over to an ally, the Edgar County Watchdogs. They quantified the malfeasance. It was up to $200,000 in a 10-year period of auto repairs and gas purchases. And we have a working theory that the feds started with Montino, flipped Montino, and have now broadened this to a much larger Illinois corruption investigation of the House Speaker himself, because last week it broke in the Illinois press that Commonwealth Edison paid $200 million and admitted to a corruption scheme with the House Speaker. It's all been alleged, it's a working theory, but we believe that there's merit that our team helped the feds kick off this wide-ranging investigation.